Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about my anxiety, um, what my causes are, what my signs and symptoms are, and what some of my coping mechanisms are. This is the second part of my YouTube series about dealing with my mental health, with depression, anxiety, and then also fibromyalgia. So, I have a few notes again, like I did for the depression one. First of all, let's do a little bit of background about what can cause anxiety. And for me specifically, it's genetic. My maternal side had issues with depression and anxiety. My grandmother, Townsend, my mother did, me and my brother both do. So it's definitely genetic. And, that's sometimes that's just the way things are spread and things happen that way. And this just happened to be something that my family picked up. Also, there's the brain chemistry aspect. For me, this was evident, especially while going through the TMS therapy, because I did have increased anxiety while my brain was matter or brain waves were being moved around with the magnetic therapy. My anxiety was increased, but brain chemistry, just kind of by itself, can also be a factor for anxiety. There's a traumatic issue, that trigger, I guess, that could also cause anxiety. I had this with my previous marriage. I suffered some emotional and some physical, not physical, I apologize, some emotional and some verbal abuse. And that really, I think, kind of brought out my anxiety more than anything else. I think really once I started to get frustrated and realize what was going on, I started to have these anxiety attacks. And my previous marriage was definitely one of those factors. There were other things involved, but um, it was a big factor for me in having my anxiety kind of accelerate or get worse, as it were, during that time period, especially the last, um, you know, 4 or 5 years or so. Also, personality can have a factor with anxiety. And for me, I tend to worry. I guess somebody could call me a worrywart, although I don't know that I like that term. But I do worry. I get concerned about things, and it's hard for me to let them go. And that's one of my weaknesses, too, in my faith, is that when I pray, Lord, please take these things from me, because I know that He will. But then my problem is when I stop the prayer, I pick all the things I asked Him to take from me, I pick them all up again. And this is something that I need to improve upon in my Christian life, definitely. But it's also a trigger for my anxiety, is the worrying and the struggle with things of that nature. Also, there's medical um, diagnosis and disorders that can cause stress, which can lead to anxiety. So, I mean, anyone with a chronic illness, a major illness like cancer or diabetes or something like that, um, could have increased stress over that illness and what it means for their life and what it means for them. And then that can cause anxiety. Um, for me, I also have the other conditions of depression and fibromyalgia. And the depression and the anxiety for me almost work kind of hand in hand. If I'm super depressed, a lot of times I'll get really anxious because I want to get better and feel better. And so then that'll bring on an anxiety attack. With my fibro, I suffer quite a bit of pain, and I do suffer fatigue. And so that causes stress because I'm not able to do the things that I want to do, and I get worn out easily. So if I'm busy in the morning, by the afternoon I'm ready to lay down and rest for the rest of the day and not necessarily clean the house. So that is definitely a factor for me anyway. The other medical disorders. There are other causes of anxiety, but they don't necessarily apply to me. So, I'm not going to mention those today. But if you do have questions about, your own well-being or your own potential panic attacks or anxiety attacks, definitely do a search for anxiety causes, and it'll bring up a list of different things that cause anxiety and things that you can do about it. Now, speaking along those lines, for me, the signs and symptoms of anxiety are, I mean, maybe they're not unique, but, to me, they feel like they might be unique because I'm going through them and I don't know who else is. But I get these episodes where my brain is shaking. I can't describe it other than that. My head is not moving, but my brain is shaking. And that is really hard because once my brain starts to shake, then my body starts to shake and I start to get twitches and little tremors and tics, and those are really hard to control. So it starts internally for me with the brain, and then it moves externally, and because there's nowhere to go. I mean, anxiety is like increased energy in a way. And so when your brain is moving and having all this energy, at least that's for me how it feels. The brain is moving. I'm sure it isn't moving, but that's how it feels. And so I'm developing all this energy, and so that's coming out through my body. And so then I start to shake and tremor. My hands will tremble. I'll move my knees, and I might scratch, like, indefinitely, just kind of scratch a space on my skin. Also, for me, this can develop into self-harm, where I hit my head against the wall. And I think I described that in my depression video. But I get so frustrated and so anxious, and I'm so depressed, and, nothing's going right. And what am I going to do about it? Well, for whatever reason, the one thing my brain says is, if you hit your head against the wall, everything will clear up. Well, I mean, it doesn't clear up, but I can't stop myself from hitting myself against the wall. And that's one of the things that my service dog Comanche is going to be able to help me with. He's actually going to be able to stand on his hind legs, put his front paws on my chest or around my neck, and stand between me and the wall to kind of push me away from the wall. That's one of the things they're going to train him to do. And so I'm looking forward to that because I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to have bruises on my forehead. I haven't drawn blood yet, fortunately. I haven't dented the wall. The wall's pretty sturdy. But, I don't want to do this harmful thing to myself. And so I'm grateful that Comanche will be able to help me in that area. I also tend to stutter. And you saw me stutter a little bit in one of my past videos. I'm feeling pretty good today, so I'm not stuttering today, at least not right now. Different things will bring on the stuttering. It might be a line at the checkout. I might get frustrated and anxious, and it's hard for me to stand in lines. It's hard for me to stand in place because I feel like I should be moving, like the line should be moving. What's the holdup? How come it's not going? And then that starts to develop into anxiety. Also, while driving, sometimes I'll have anxiety issues, just because of the way people drive around me. I've learned to kind of drive with my cruise control and let people pass me. And if I come up to somebody close, I'll pass them and then move back into the slow lane. For me, that's kind of the best way to drive because if I try to go really fast or whatever, then I just end up, having issues. So, and then the last symptom for me would definitely be fatigue. When you're going through all this anxiety, when your body has all this energy that it's trying to get rid of, it definitely causes you to be fatigued, both mentally and physically. And it kind of comes upon you, nearing the end of the attack. Sometimes it won't hit you until after the attack is over. But fatigue is a big part of it for me. Along with my fibromyalgia, I suffer quite a bit of fatigue. Some of my medications I take, a side effect is fatigue. So, I'm chronically tired. I don't always sleep well at night. And so then that makes me even more tired. So I don't drink enough water. I know I need to drink more water, but I'm drinking caffeine just to kind of help me stay awake. And, that's kind of how it is for me right now anyway. I really like those Bang energy drinks. I love the flavors, and I think they're really true to flavor. And for me, they're just the bomb. The Bang is the bomb. So anyway, so the last thing of me dealing with my anxiety is how I cope. One of the things I do is I see a therapist for talk therapy, it's called. It's where I go and I can express myself to her, and everything is confidential. And, she gives me different ideas and, reassures me that I'm okay and that things are going okay and this sort of thing. And she also gave me a sheet of grounding techniques. And I've used these, before at the very start of an anxiety attack, and they really have helped. So I'm going to read off the types. There's body awareness. There's mental exercises. There's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. And then there's the category technique. And these are all different in the way that they work. The body awareness is where you feel your toes and wiggle your toes and concentrate on wiggling your toes. And then maybe you might feel your kneecaps and, touch your kneecaps and rub them and kind of massage your kneecaps and that sort of thing, body awareness. Mental exercises are, focusing on different topics, like movies, and then you try to think of all the different movies that you can think of. Maybe you'll think of food. Maybe you'll think of restaurants. There's different categories that you can think about, and those are mental techniques. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is where you, touch something and, wait, hold on. I don't want to mess this one up. What are 5 things you can see? What are 4 things you can feel? What are 3 things you can hear? What are 2 things you can smell? And what is 1 thing that you can taste? So this is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. And I've used this some, not as much as the body awareness. That one tends to work the best for me. Um, but, in order to do this one, you would almost have to, oops, sorry about that. In order to do this one, you'd almost have to be by food or something, that you could taste, some sort of candy maybe, or a breath mint, or, you know, anything really that you could taste. And then I also take a really nice anti-anxiety medication. I call it nice because it really works. It's called clonazepam. And I take that, and I take a little bit more as needed. But yeah, if you have anxiety issues and you're not on clonazepam, I would definitely ask your doctor about it, because for me, it really does help. It helps a lot. And, sometimes if I'm really bad, I'll just have to huddle in a ball and cry and shake and just wait for it to pass. And, that could be minutes or it could be an hour. It just kind of depends. But that would be the final way that I would cope, and that I have coped in the past. So anyway, this is just briefly talking about my anxiety. Any future videos on anxiety, I'm going to be a little bit more specific, perhaps what I'm going through at the time. So you might see me stutter or shake or something along those lines. That's because I just kind of want to make you aware of my anxiety and how I'm affected by it. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this section of video, and perhaps it was even able to help you some. Thank you so much. Bye.